we are going to start today with talking about your profile and doing the initial things you want to do when you want to really get going on LinkedIn. But let's first talk about why are we here? Why is LinkedIn so important now? And it is really important. We've been getting a lot of requests from clients to help them with LinkedIn. And of course, we really can't be them on LinkedIn. We can't be their whole sales and marketing team on LinkedIn. We can post on their company pages and get engagement and try to drive traffic to their company page, but we are not able to actually go in and be each one of them on LinkedIn. So they are needing help from us to understand how to master networking on digital platforms like LinkedIn. And that's so important right now because, of course, what we've all been talking about, we all say that same phrase over and over due to the pandemic, right? So it has really changed the way that we do things. And right now, your happy hour, your cocktail party, your golf course, it is no longer at the bar or the golf course, right? It is now more online because of that. And people are needing those digital platforms in order to network because a lot of these in-person events are canceled. Trade shows are still being canceled. Some of them are happening, but especially once Omicron picked up, we saw a lot of canceling going on again. There is this need to focus on the digital means for building the networks and getting those leads that you all got before the pandemic started. And so sales teams are having to learn how to cultivate their digital network, not just their in-person network. And that word cultivate is really, really important. And we're going to talk about that. What you're going to learn today is the secret to LinkedIn success. So the basics for how or what's going to help you perform and be really good at LinkedIn. The benefits of employee activity on LinkedIn. So why do you want your coworkers and the people who work at your company to be really active as well as you? And then how to optimize your profile. So once somebody connects with you on LinkedIn, they're probably going to go check you out and look at your page. And so you really want to present your best self when they do that. And then we're going to talk about how to format your posts. So whenever you're posting, you get the engagement that you want and you start building that engagement. So why do I use the word cultivate? That's kind of you right there holding those little seeds out in the farm. This process is a lot like farming. You're going to plant the seeds, which is making those connections. You're going to water them by making comments on other people's posts and sharing content. And you're going to start to see your digital relationships grow. And eventually you will reap what you sow, once harvest season comes along, right? So you get planting season, and then some months later, you've got that harvesting season, and people will contact you about your service. You won't have to go and contact them and cold message them. They're actually just going to contact you. How nice is that? But you do have to cultivate in order to get there. There is no instant success. So if you're looking for overnight leads from LinkedIn, sorry, that's not why we're here. That doesn't really happen. There are no magic formulas for cultivating. Just like farming, it does take time. It takes a season. And there are, in farming, you can't plant magic beans and get a beanstalk, right? Because magic beans don't exist. So since magic beans don't exist, you've actually got to do the work. So here at Liger, we talk all about our war on unicorns, right? You can't hire a unicorn and get yourself marketing success and sales overnight. You actually have to do all the marketing work and lay the foundations in order to get there. And it takes at least a few months to start seeing some results. Well, it's the same thing with LinkedIn. You can't get leads overnight. LinkedIn is a people platform. So it's social media, emphasis on the social. And when people post, they're also very organic, spontaneous, unplanned. If you think about how you post on social media, I don't know about you, but I don't have a social media calendar for me and my personal accounts that I use to plan things out a month in advance and decide what I'm going to post and post to represent my brand and everything I'm about evenly throughout the month. Like, I just don't do that for myself personally. If you do that, I'm a little worried, a little concerned, but most people don't do that, right? So people are very organic, and they also build relationships organically. you're not going to be besties with somebody overnight, right? And if you met somebody in person, you're not going to be besties with them overnight. So you've got to actually build that relationship. And so that's the way that LinkedIn is going to work. Beware of unicorns that are promising they can give you overnight success on LinkedIn or so many leads in a month or in 30 days. So that is not how it works and not how we know it works. And so when people are promising that, it concerns us a little bit, but we think that you should follow those people who share info on how to cultivate, on how to do the work. And there are lots of leaders on LinkedIn who share information like that. And in fact, the 3 names that I have here are people that I follow who have given me a lot of tips about how to post on LinkedIn, about how to engage with people. One of them is an actual LinkedIn coach who this is how she makes her living. One of them was a marketing person who just became a LinkedIn coach, and that's Anthony Jones. And then the other one is Duncan Strachan, and he is actually a creative from England. And we're going to actually look at his page now. We've got some stuff from Anthony and Shay coming up soon, but this is actually Duncan's page. And what I love about him is the minute he got on the platform, he says he made a lot of mistakes. And in this post, he's actually sharing some of those mistakes that he made. He's like, I got it all wrong. When I first went on LinkedIn, my posts were all about me. I never commented on anyone else's posts. So he's telling you the mistakes he made. And then he gives great tips on what you can do to start building momentum on LinkedIn. And he also gives stats. So he started collecting all the stats from his posts and then sharing with everybody what's performing, what's not, what did better, and great information. So people like that really share the value of LinkedIn, and they're sharing content that's useful for you, and learning all those things and continuing to learning from them will continue to make you better and better at using the platform.
Why is it important for employees of a company to be active on LinkedIn as well? When you're searching for a company on LinkedIn, the employees of that company will actually show up in the search as well. So your profile, if you have that you work at XYZ company and somebody is looking that company up, your profile will show up as well. Same goes with Google. Google and LinkedIn actually have a very close relationship. And so when somebody is Googling this company, your LinkedIn profile will show up. So best practices, leading by example within the company. If other employees, lead by example, get their profile optimized correctly, sharing and engaging, then other employees are more likely to represent the same way within your company. Content shared by employees receives 8 times more engagement than content shared by the brand channel itself. You can kind of see a little diagram to the right of you, and then your network and connections, and then your network's connections, and how your content can spread. People buy from people and not from companies. And we're actually about to see Anthony Jones, who Jackie spoke about earlier, a nice little video from him. He actually creates his content on TikTok and shares it on LinkedIn. It's a great way for the titles and everything to come across. That's something that we have also found, is that cross-platform optimization.
Here's a question people have. My post only received 2 or 3 likes. Do I suck on LinkedIn? The truth is, it's very easy to get disappointed when you make a post and get very little engagement. But here's a fun fact, that is normal. The key to long-term success is consistency. You can't expect to post once or twice a month and get tons of engagement. It's a slow build over time, but you have to keep at it. Just because you didn't get 100 likes on that first post doesn't mean it sucked or that nobody saw it. Chances are a lot of people saw it, but they didn't know how to engage because they still don't know you yet. If you keep posting quality content and show your personal side on the LinkedIn world, the engagement will come. I say this from personal experience, and remember, people connect with people.
All right, right, so let's start with optimizing your profile. What should your page look like when people click on it and say, who is this person that just connected with me? The first thing they're going to look at is probably your title. If people do a search on LinkedIn, let's say they're looking for account executives, and all of a sudden they put in that term under jobs and they get a list of people and your name is right there, they're going to see your title first. What people don't know a lot of times is you don't have to use just one. You can use many titles. There are a lot of characters that can fit in that title area, and you need to use that to your advantage. So you want to make at least one of your titles searchable, which means, what do I mean by searchable? Maybe your typical title or field that you work in. So if you're account executive or sales development representative, or like mine would say copywriter, content director, those would all be searchable titles. So that way people are looking for people who work in that field, they're going to find you. However, you need to get creative from there. So take an opportunity to tell people what you do, not just your position, and make it interesting. Use some things to get attention. Yes, you can use emojis to get attention as well. And as we know on social media, things with emojis do tend to get more attention and therefore more engagement. So if you notice, Liz Willits right at the top there is another copywriter I follow, and I love her title because it immediately gets people's attention. It says, in quotation marks, Liz is the #1 marketer to follow on LinkedIn, and then it says dash her mom. Pretty funny, pretty cute, gets my attention. But then after that, she's got her searchable title, and it also tells you that her niche is SaaS, it's software as a service, and that's what she mostly writes for. Down at the bottom, Justin didn't leave a searchable title, but he said, we connect lenders to clients. Boom, really simple, but it tells you exactly what he does. And if you are a lender, then this is something that you would be interested in immediately. James is another writer I follow, and he says, I can explain high tech to my grandma. Not only is it tongue in cheek, but it tells me exactly what James does. It tells me his niche, but it tells me that he's really good at his niche, because how many of us have tried to explain computers to our grandparents or our parents, and it doesn't go very well. I mean, just trying to tell my grandmother how to use the remote was a challenge in and of itself, but this is something that he can do well. So that tells me a lot about him. Weston says, I provide B2B IT clients full EOL, EOSL support. All right, wonderful. Says exactly what he does. It even says he guarantees people savings, like gets my attention. Go into Danielle's, and it says she's enterprise sales development representative at Gong. So that's her title, but next to it, it says unlocking reality. So it tells me now a little bit about her brand and what she's about. And it makes me a little curious. Unlocking reality, what does she mean by that? And I might go read her about section from there. So just some examples for you, but give it some thought to what you can do to beef up your own title. Try a few different ones. You know, nothing says that you can't change it after you try something, and maybe you're not liking it. A month later, you can go back and try something else. So just give yourself some options with that.
So your profile picture. This is really important because it's the first thing that people see on your page. It's actually something when somebody's scrolling through their feed that differentiates you. It's what they see. It's who is posting. So you want a good profile photo. You want a professional, semi-professional photo. You don't want it to be a selfie. A solid colored background helps to grab the attention. And you can also do a colored rim around your photo as shown below, because that also will grab somebody's attention right off the bat as they're scrolling. It makes your profile different, as well as gives it that pop of color and uniqueness.
All right, your bio. So the biggest mistake I see on LinkedIn when it comes to bios is people listing their positions or their daily functions of what they do in their job. And really, that's not the optimal bio for LinkedIn. So if you are a sales representative, I kind of know what you do, right? And so you don't really need to stick all of your duties in your bio. But what you do need to do is tell a story and be descriptive. So I want to learn about who you are and about, and what you're about, your brand, and also why what you do is important. And you can also use that bio to highlight your accomplishments or your capabilities. So if you have accomplished something in your field that makes you stand out, you can mention that there. And then what you want to also do is make it easy to read. And you do that by putting your sectioning off the material. So you can make short paragraphs and put space between them. As you can see to the right, Casey Graham actually put space between every single line, which a lot of people do in their posts and their bios on LinkedIn. It does make it readable. It makes it more likely that someone will read the whole thing. That's actually proven. So doing those types of things will make it easier for people to read. He tells a story in his bio. And if you go to his page, you can read his whole story, but, and it's kind of serious, but it gets somebody's attention right away. He starts out with, my grandfather's suicide was my intro to small business. Powerful, serious, compelling, makes me want to read more. So then he says, it was 1993. I was 12 years old and my papa killed himself because of owning a small business and pressure with money. I remember thinking, I'll never have debt. I'll never let things like business ruin my life. I'll be different. And so he's really helping you understand his why he does what he does, why it's important to him. And that kind of helps him be a bit more likable to me, right? It makes him a bit more endearing. It makes me want to do business with him. So reading somebody's story, what's their why behind what they do, is really compelling to learning more about them. If you can click on that link, Stella, it will take us to LinkedIn. And right there is actually a post that I have left, and it is giving you an outline for different tips for how to write your bio. I'm actually going to put that link in the chat for you right now, and that will help if you would like some tips on writing your bio and a little bit of help with writing it. All right, we can go back to the presentation and learn a little bit about your CV.
Awesome. So your CV, the more complete it is, the higher you're going to turn up. If somebody is searching for keywords, if you are on the job hunt, if recruiters are looking, at the very least, you need to have your position, your company name, and the time period that you've been with that company. So you definitely want to have that company connected to your page. Like I was saying, you will start showing up when somebody is searching that company, whether it be Google, whether somebody's looking straight in LinkedIn. Make your description short and focus on your accomplishments. You don't want a bunch of filler in there. You want exactly what you've done, maybe what you're most proud of. So you don't need to put a description of each one of your duties or at each one of your positions. Make it short and sweet. And like Jackie said, you want everything on your profile to be easy to read. And so your portfolio, there's a featured section on your page, and this is where you can put examples of your work. Like I said, maybe it's something that you're most proud of, something that's won an award. You can see it up there to the top right. That's where it'll show on your page. You can add links, media, posts, newsletters. So if you have a website, you can put it in there. People appreciate it because it can be hard to find a link to your personal portfolio if it's not in your title. And this is a place to also extend to maybe more of your personal work through your LinkedIn page. And then endorsements. People will look at them when they check you out. The more endorsements you have, once again, the more you will show up in a search. The way you get endorsements is by asking, send a request, hey, if you endorse me in a couple of these skills, give it back. Give endorsements. People will likely reciprocate with endorsements. So you will find your endorsements under the skills and endorsements section. And when you go into your LinkedIn page, you want to make sure that your skills are built out, that you have a bunch of skills ranging in everything that you do, and somebody can go in there, click that skill, and endorse that skill for you. So right here is a perfect example of where it lives on your page. And then customizing your URL. This makes you easier to find. It's a really cool feature. It's quick and easy to differentiate yourself and your profile, especially if you have a common name. It boosts your credibility. It gives your profile a cleaner look. When somebody goes to your profile, if the URL is shorter and more consistent, you don't have all those numbers and letters following, gives your profile a cleaner look. Your custom URL can be 3 to 100 characters long. You don't want to use spaces, commas, special characters, anything like that. I can show you how to do it. Can everybody see my screen? Perfect. So what you do is you go to me, you go to view your profile. Up here at the top right, you have your edit public profile and URL. And then you can edit your custom URL right here. And it's super easy. Like I said, it really differentiates you. And if you have a common name, it helps so that people don't get you confused with anybody else. So right now is a great stopping point for any other questions that we may have.
Just curious if how many people actually have a custom URL already, because I'm not sure. I know a lot of people that do, but I'm not sure how popular that is. If you have one, you can put a little yes in the chat there. Saying yes, I do not, I don't. So it looks like a couple of you have them, but most people don't. So that is something very easy you can do today. And it makes it really easy if you put your LinkedIn link on your resume. You don't have to have a link there with a lot of little numbers. Now it's going to just be your name. And so it'll look a lot cleaner when you share things like that.
As well as for people finding you to tag, if you are featured in a post and they're trying to tag you, it makes it a lot easier for them to find your profile. So the anatomy of a post. LinkedIn definitely has a preference for original content. So the algorithm is set to encourage original content rather than shared content. So it severely downgrades sharing and recommends actually reposting, taking the picture from the original post, taking the words from the original post, and truly creating a new separate post.
So yeah, it has a share button, but for some reason they don't like you to use it. So if you're sharing somebody else's post, if you notice you don't get any views, that would be why. If you repost though, it would be good form to still give the person credit by adding them in your post.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely give whoever credit. So the format for the anatomy of a post, you want to include 1 to 3 hashtags. You want to put your link in the comments, not in the actual post. We have seen, a downgrade of views when it's just a link, whether it be to a blog, to a video, to a website. You definitely want to put the link in the comments. You want to be vulnerable. You want to be personal. You want to include non-work related posts. When people feel that they know you, they're more likely to contact you. The whole sales, people buy from people don't buy from companies. So there's this trust aspect. You really want people to feel like they know you. An example of, there's an example of a vulnerable post that I saw.
Keep forwarding.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'll go back, but this is a great example of a vulnerable post. This I scrolled past and I saw this on my feed the other day. This is what autism and ADHD looks like. The last couple of years, I have seen some posts going around, and then she goes into a long formatted post. It got about 15,000 likes, and LinkedIn actually commented on it and said, "Thanks for sharing your vulnerability and for shining a light on this important topic." So she actually shared something personal about herself. And, that kind of gives that trust aspect that makes me feel like I know a little bit more about her. Maybe I'm more likely to connect with her. Maybe I want to learn more about her story. So I'm going to connect with her. These are great examples of a LinkedIn post. You want to include emojis. That's something that I think is very new and people are a little bit iffy about still, but LinkedIn loves emojis. It draws attention. Like Jackie mentioned before, kind of segmenting out your posts. I actually have an example of one of Jackie's posts and one of Shay, who Jackie spoke on earlier. So you're giving your call to action kind of at the top. You're addressing who you want to speak about. There's lists in there. You definitely want to list out format. That also makes it easier to read. You have your hashtags at the bottom and you have a call to action at the bottom. But both of these posts, even though they're long, they're very easy to skim and read. And that is what you want to do with the LinkedIn post. You definitely want to add value. Think about creating interactions, and leave thoughtful questions and polls, but don't overuse them. That's a whole topic in its own right now. But you definitely want to leave those questions that are leaning into wanting to figure out who your audience is, who your post is reaching, what their thoughts are, etc. So, tips for engagement. This is one of those kind of like the endorsements. If you engage, people will engage back. If you don't engage with others, people will not see your profile. They probably will not engage back. So you want to like and respond to any comments that you're getting. You want to like and comment on your own post, actually. So when you post a post, you want to like it and you want to comment on it. And that will boost your post to get into other people's feeds. You want to post frequently. You want to post at least one time a day, but no more than 5 times per day. LinkedIn has seen brands that post once a month gain followers 6 times faster than those who keep a low profile. Experimenting to find your brand's sweet spot is probably the best way to go about it. Maybe you find that posting one day works for you. Maybe you find that posting 2 days or 2 times a day works for you. So it's really kind of experimenting and finding your sweet spot. So post times of the day. It's said that the best days to post on LinkedIn are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So kind of in that center part of a work week. Wednesdays get the highest level of engagement. And the best time to post are during business hours before 5 p.m. on weekdays. 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. is said to be the sweet spots for posting. But once again, this is where you kind of have to do your own little experimentation and figure out kind of where your sweet spot is. So sum it up, middle part of the week, during business hours. Usually that's when people are looking at LinkedIn. I know start of my day, I probably check my LinkedIn. End of my day, I'm probably checking my LinkedIn. But once the weekend comes, I'm not really checking my LinkedIn page. And then to continue, you want to comment on people's posts. And then make your post and leave the platform. And this is something that Jackie has found out and she's told me. So the LinkedIn algorithm is geared towards getting people back onto the platform. I don't know if you want to go into further detail with that, Jackie.
Yeah, so this is something I learned again by following those people who are really into LinkedIn and love sharing their tips. And one of these things was because the algorithm is based on getting you back on the platform, after you spend time commenting on other people's posts and liking things, then make your post instead of making your post first and then staying on the platform and commenting. We were saying comment on people's posts, then make your post and leave the platform. And it will give your post the chance for maximum engagement. Why? Because LinkedIn wants to get you back on that platform and engaging. And then one way it can do that is by displaying your post more and having people leave comments or liking it. That way you get back on and engage. And so that is a little bit of a secret that you will get the maximum engagement if you leave shortly after. It is important to comment on people's posts and do that interaction beforehand though, because it will want to pull you back in order to, get back on and spend time on LinkedIn.
Yes. And there are a bunch of little hacks for LinkedIn. It is a very ever-changing platform. So as we, come across these things, we definitely want to share what we come across. And if you have a post that's doing well, let it be for a couple days before making another one. Let it have time for everyone to be able to get its eyes on that one specific post. Test your posts by running the same one with a slight change. This is something that we have really been trying to implement here at Liger. Maybe it's a blog that you posted and you were thinking, hey, this is a great post. I think this is going to do really well. And come to find out, it actually didn't get that many views. It didn't get that much engagement. So how can you tweak it a little bit so it's the same content, but maybe it's a different format? Maybe you're posting it as a PDF. Maybe you're posting it as a LinkedIn article. Maybe you're just taking all the words from the blog and making one long post, but trying to figure out what it is that maybe was holding the post back. So that could be changing the intro or the picture, maybe tagging some people in the post. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can kind of just tweak that same concept, same content to make it just a tiny bit different and see if that helps boost the engagement. So reuse and recycle content, that's a huge plus. That's something that we really lean on and a big tip that we like to give people. So what you don't do with a post, you don't want to sell, you want to relate to people, you don't want to advertise, you want to share with people. So you don't want to be the person that's trying to get something from everybody. You want to focus on giving to people, building that trust. You don't want to be that salesperson on LinkedIn when everybody else is sharing personal tips and tricks, stuff about their personal life. You want to be able to be somebody who anybody can lean on for information rather than just constantly wanting to get a sell out of something.
I know it's hard to tell salespeople not to sell, but really that's the secret to selling on LinkedIn. It's not selling. It's just being human. And that's not to say you never advertise or whatever. If you've got a good deal going or you need to let people know something, take that time to say, hey, yeah, we're doing this really cool thing and just wanted to share this with you. It's not going to come across as salesy if you're relating to people 90% of the time on the platform. It's a great time to take some questions. So leave your questions in the chat. I see one right there. What should your personal or professional post ratio be? Or should we be trying to blend the two together? Great question. Do you want to take that, Stella?
Yeah, so you definitely want to try and blend those two together. There was a huge controversy, I would say, this past year of LinkedIn's turning into Facebook. Well, LinkedIn is a people platform where you are networking. So you definitely want to have the personal aspect to your profile, and you don't want people to necessarily have to go searching for that. So you definitely want to mix that in and have your professional as well as your personal kind of combined, like Jackie said. It's very natural. It's very in the now, what's going on. You're not really planning it out a month in advance. Maybe you go out to dinner with some coworkers and hey, this would be great to post. And that's a little personal post, you know, it's not all work. So Jackie, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I think it's important not to concentrate on the ratio because like Stella's saying, it is organic. For example, Stella and I got here really early this morning to prep for this, and we were watching the sunrise out the window and we're like, oh my gosh, that's so gorgeous. You have to take a picture. And so guess what I'm sharing on LinkedIn today? And that's a personal picture. It's not a professional post, but it's something that just went on today. And so therefore sharing it would be great. And so anything like that, sometimes I'll do something over the weekend and then I might want to share. And sometimes my personal and professional are blended together in one post, which I did last week. It was something I did over the weekend, reminded me of a marketing principle. And so I shared my personal life and shared a marketing concept at the same exact time. And so, we are both professional and personal people. I think that we've learned that all through the pandemic, having to work from home, that we are both, and we have to be comfortable with being both in front of the world and in front of our professional colleagues. And so LinkedIn is that platform that is both. And we have to be ourselves and we have to share what's going on in our lives, but we're also sharing, what we're doing at work and sharing the information that we know, the expertise that we have in our fields, and really creating value for other people. So I say, don't concentrate on the percentage or the ratio as much as just being yourself and sharing, what's going on in your life and your work, this week. Great question. Any other questions about content or sharing, posting? I thought of one thing I wanted to share, and that is sometimes one of the questions that I get asked is, if I'm making a comment on my own post to make sure that everybody in my network sees it, what should I comment? I'm not going to be like, hey, great post, dude, right? What should I comment there? And for me, the easiest thing to do to think of is, that's where I add my engagement question. So sometimes if I leave some tips for people, I will ask them about themselves. Hey, what do you find, when it comes to this? Or what are your thoughts on this subject? Or what are your best tips? So in this area, so that's where I put my question a lot of times to people. Or if I put my question in my post, I will restate it in my comments for people. And then I also put links. If I'm sharing a link, I will put that link in the comments, since I'm not going to put it in the post because LinkedIn algorithms do not like the link in the post itself. So that's where I'll usually share it, and I hope that helps with commenting on your own posts. Does anybody have any profile tips that they want to share that they think would be helpful? Feel free to stick it in the chat. And we will share with everyone else. Right, as you're typing or sharing, you can go ahead to the next screen, Stella. All right, because I'm going to recap what we've learned. And today you learned why LinkedIn is such an important platform for networking. And you learned also there is no instant success, that time, patience, and persistence, which is exactly what Anthony said in his little video. That's the optimal formula for success on LinkedIn. You learned how employee activity on the platform benefits companies, and you learned how to optimize your profile and how to format your posts in order to get engagement. All right, we've got another question, and that is it important for a company to use the notify employees feature? Great question. You want to take that, Stella?
Yeah, for sure. So this is another one of those examples where if you're posting from a company page, you definitely want to be able to get that post out to your employees' networks. So, that stat of the employees' posts get 8 times more engagement than the actual brand's post. So let's say maybe you only have 100 people that like your company page. Only 100 people have the opportunity to see whatever post that may be. But if you're notifying your employees and your employees know to comment, to share, to engage with that post, then that post will reach their connections and their network. And that is how you spread awareness about your brand. That is the importance of your personal profile. So that's a great question, Maddie, because that honestly sums up exactly what we've been talking about today, is how you can utilize your personal profile to help optimize yourself as your own brand, but maybe also that company that you work for and their brand.
And our second session is going to be on March 16th. And we are going to be going over actually making connections on LinkedIn, the best ways to do that, and the best ways to grow those connections and those relationships and network on the platform so that you can get leads. So that's what our next session will be all about. And we're excited to dive into the actual networking portion in a couple of weeks. So if you know of anyone who really wants to learn that, make sure you invite them so that they can jump in and ask questions too. I'm sure we'll have even more questions about the networking part, since that's the part everyone really wants to know. Any other questions before we conclude today? Ooh, we got some great sharing tips over here from JoJo. And she says, experiment with posting to find what works for you. So yeah, keep track of those stats so that you can see what's working for your audience and what's not. Sort the posts you view by most recent rather than most relevant. So that is actually in your profile, just like in Facebook, you can change it to show relevant posts or the most recent. And when you change that, you might see that you're getting a different exposure to your network. You're seeing different posts. And JoJo says, be kind, there are humans behind the scenes. Yeah, no trolling on LinkedIn. It's just bad form. I see a lot of people leaving some not so great comments on there. And I think to myself, that's really not good for their personal brand. So yep, no trolls. Thank you so much, JoJo.